Uganda. Today, the world is transforming, but how is it transforming and evolving? This in the world of tax, there is what is called digitalization of the economy and also initiatives that come through. But how do these initiatives come? Initiatives come through different individuals and personalities. A show, A Moment with Caesar, is here to let you know about those different persons that are behind the transformation of the URA. That is what is in people and processes and systems. That is what is really happening here. But we can't do it without the persons. So, on the show, we shall be bringing you Robert Mutebi, who is the Commissioner for IT, the man behind the transformation of this economy. Hello. Welcome to URA TV, A Moment with Caesar with Niyonshima. Today we are exploring into the world of automation and IT. On the show, we are hosting one of the persons that have been behind the digital transformation, not only of URA, but of this country, who have worked in different capacities in the MTN, in banking sector. There is a lot to say. So starting outright, we shall start with the headline that appeared in one of the diaries last week saying Mutebi delivers the digital strategy for URA, just 2 years on the road. So let us begin on that and say, who is that Robert Mutebi? And tell the world this person.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm normally a very, very private person. So you've already won by succeeding to get me here. Robert Mutebi, I am a servant leader. I think that's how I define myself. Everywhere I go, I try to serve diligently. And that's whether it's your wedding, or it's URA, or it's a burial, church, wherever I am, I try to serve. And I think I've seen a lot of leadership opportunities come to me because of that. But principally, on a professional level, I'm an executive right now. In the URA, I serve as a commissioner for IT and innovations. I am an engineer. I've been around technology from telecoms to banking to IT for, I think, since I was 18 years old. And that's close to 25 years ago as we speak. And I like planting forests. So over the weekend, you will find me walking through a lot of trees, which we plant. I'm a husband to one wife, who is a woman.
This has to be quoted, a husband to one wife is a woman. I mean, this is the trend that we are in.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It has to be defined.
I'm a father of 3 biological children and many others who are not. And I'm also a coach. I'm a certified leadership coach internationally. So I have a number of people who I coach. And I've done that for quite a number of years. Bottom line, that's me.
So, let us now dive into the fact that that diary came, we have had digital transformation, automation. What is it about in the URA?
Well, there are 3 layers in technology that any organization will go through. And the first is to digitize. We call it digitization. And what that means is that you move manual processes from paperwork into digital forms. So if you had a form that you have to fill manually, you digitize it and you make it a digital format. And URA has been on that journey. It started out around 2008, and we call that Tax Administration 01. You just simple computers, the separate systems to make sure that manual processes that were there are in digital form. And moving on is what we call digitalization. Now, digitalization is a bit different. It is now putting digital systems into processes, business processes. And so we've seen that, for example, with e-tax, with IFRIS, with DTS, with ASCUDA. Now business processes have a system that drives them. Where we are right now is what we call digital transformation. And that's now the third level. It's tax administration 3.0. And this is really about building ecosystems. So what we're saying is that URA has matured to that level. We do not stand alone with our own business processes. We have to integrate with our taxpayers. So what you're seeing, for example, with our customer base is putting our systems within their natural environments, within their enterprise resource planning systems, within their accounting platforms, so that whatever happens in that space in real time, we're able to see. So you're saying, well, right now, for example, with DTS, you're able to tell how many bottles of soda were produced today and how that translates into taxation. And what we do is to collect all this data and use different technologies, big data analytics, machine learning, AI, to be able to tell the story of taxation. And so this is a capacity we're building, and going into this strategy is a focus on introducing more and more of AI, machine learning, of a lot of analytics into our processes to be able then to tell the story of taxation for us. So this is really what it's all about, and that's why we're doing this strategy.
So let us now relate this transformation. You're doing this for an organization like URA, that is maybe nationalistic and something like that, but you were somewhere else still doing the same. What's the difference between the two, URA and the other organizations that you've really worked for?
Well, first of all, I came from the private sector. In the private sector, we do things for profit. Largely. Here it's for national transformation and for building value for us as a country. So the motivations are a bit different. But from a technology standpoint, in the private sector we build products. And what I find in the URA is that we do not have so much of a mindset of product development. If you're going to develop a product, the first thing that you ask is it the right fit for the client? Is it useful? Does it simplify their life? Because if all those boxes are ticked, you're taking away their pain, you're simplifying their life, you're making it a more joyful experience, then they're willing to give you their money. More on this other side, I think over time we've depended so much on the law and what it gives us, and not thought so much about what our taxpayer needs, how to simplify life for them. And so part of the shift that we're taking is to center on the customer, on this taxpayer, simplify their life, take away their pain, and make sure that we create value for them. And we think that that will simplify the experience for them to give us the taxes due, and we put them to the right use for the country.
You spoke about simplification, easing the taxpayer's journey. And there are some technical people who would understand that, but I would want you to relate it to a person, let's say, my grandmother out there in Soro, deep in the village. How does this simplify her journey in tax paying out?
Well, in life there are certain things that you must do. I'll pick one. For example, you must move. Time immemorial, our parents have been migrating, moving into places, and their need is to move for whatever purpose. Now, in technology and in engineering, we believe that if anything is routine, it can be automated. Now, automation means that it can become simplified and delivered faster. So back in the day, our grandparents used to walk with their feet. And then some genius showed up and thought, oh, I can create a bike.
Okay.
And by just pedaling, you move faster, it is easier, you get there a lot more faster. So you save time and money, perhaps. But it wasn't enough because it required a lot of strength. And so some guy came up and he said, we can create a car. And by putting fuel and just stepping on an accelerator, you get where you want to go as fast as possible. Today, we fly, but there's also a lot of traffic jam, and some people are thinking about flying cars. But on top of that, if you think about the technologies happening right now using, again, machine learning and AI, they're saying, why should you even spend a lot of energy driving? So we have self-drive cars. So automation is simply making easier the process of meeting a need that you have, like transportation. So in taxation, we used to have manual processes. You require to fill in a lot of forms, even when digitalized. Now we're going to that level where we even auto-fill the forms, so that your job is simply to come and click once, perhaps on your mobile phone, and that big task that used to be too complicated becomes a click away. That's really what it's about.
A few days ago, the digital strategy for Uganda Revenue Authority was launched, pioneered by you.
Yes.
What inspired you transforming all this?
Like I said, I am a servant leader. When I get in the place, I'm asking myself, why am I here? And what value can I add to this place? And looking around for the years I've been around, I've been able to learn the pain points for both the internal staff and for the tax ecosystem, whether they're stakeholders or the taxpayers. So the inspiration is in finding the problems and the challenges and the complexities and make it easier. In our world, we study very complicated things, but we have a conclusion that until it makes life easy for another person, it's useless knowledge. So if I design this Mercedes-Benz and it can't give you value that excites you, it doesn't matter the engineering in there. So it's the same here. We're trying to use technology to simplify life for everybody and solve problems. That's the inspiration. And that's why the tagline we have, which is really a massive transformative purpose as the technology team, is a simplified tax experience near you.
So in this strategy, there are 9 core points that we could speak about. So what are they, and how are they going to transform, 1, the economy of this country, 2, the lives of individuals that are in it, and 3, also the tax collectors and their clients?
Well, I'll just jump on them one on one. Like you rightly say, there are 9. But if you look at them, they're really all about the taxpayer and the stakeholder in this tax ecosystem. 1 is to provide clarity and certainty for taxpayers, traders, and stakeholders with their obligations. Many of our taxpayers do actually not know their obligation. And for example, for you and I to sit here using technology to deliver this is a way of simplifying information flow so that they understand. But also some of our tools are complicated, and we want to simplify those. And access to knowledge needs to be simplified. When we launch our new portal, you'll find that there is a whole page dedicated to incentives. And that's clarity. If I know what you expect from me and how I can access the benefit that you offer, it is easier for me to comply. Number 2, and there's a lot of many things that we want to do in that respect to provide that clarity and certainty to the taxpayers. Number 2 is really to make it easy for our traders, our taxpayers, and our stakeholders to comply with their obligations. And these obligations are 4. 1 is you need to register.
Yes.
So how can we ensure that it's easy to register? There are some things we've done, like the instant team. It's simply to simplify registration. Number two,
I think before we leave the instant tin, this is something that we should really speak about to the people that are watching A Moment with Caesar. There are a lot of complications out there that people had earlier gone through, and maybe what they think it is now. So clarify about that and tell our audience what an instant tin is probably, and then we could proceed.
Certainly, and there are many other channels that we're creating. We worked with IRAS to make sure the local governments find it easy using the IRAS platform to do that. We're working with USSD to see that we can consolidate so that out of their own stations they can register, and we will continue to do that to ensure that registration is a simple process. It is for free. It is wherever you need it, should happen for you. So the second obligation is to file. Filing. Because after you register as a taxpayer, you need to file your taxes. We find, for example, someone owns Mizigo and they're not educated, but they collect some money and they're expected to contribute to the tax basket. And it becomes difficult because they have to get onto a portal somewhere on a computer to return their taxes. We are now saying, no, you don't need to go through all that. You can do that, for example, on the USSD channel. You just come in, pick the period, and you're done. So again, a lot of other things we're doing to make sure that filing is easy. We are picking data from IFRIS, we're auto-filing it, and we want to present that into your return so that your job is just to click approved, and it's done. So filing should become easy. Number three is payment, because after you file, you're expected to pay your taxes. And while we're doing this, again, make sure that all our banks are integrated with us, and mobile wallets from the telcos, you can pay by mobile money, and we can do that now. But we aren't going to go further, even integrate ATMs and any other place where a payment wallet exists, especially with fintechs. We'll just continue to do that so that it's easy for you to pay by any means you want. And then lastly is accurate reporting. And on our side, that means presenting to you an accurate ledger. And on the URA side is to make sure that your tax positions are known, they're clear, and there is no contestation.
For the purposes of the audience that are watching us right here, let us speak about the USSD channel. What is it clearly, and how can the public out there utilize it?
Well, on that channel, for example, you might get caught with a police ticket and they're telling you park your car here. You can just dial *285#, put in the PRN which will be on that ticket, and you make the payment, just show officer, done. And in a minute, you're out of there. That kind of convenience is what we're looking for. You might want to pay for your driving license. You want to renew. *285, you find a driving license, put in a number plate or rather your TIN, and you pay, and you just walk into the permit renewal office. You might want to pay for your park user fees, for example, or you want to renew your third party. Those kinds of things are what we are putting on that USSD channel. But again, you can also want to pay your taxes using your mobile wallet, and you still be able to do that. So it's really to simplify taxation away from our big offices and the banks, and put it in your sitting room, right in your hand.
I'm really focusing on this because it is an aspect that is going to help out the community. So I would love to find out which type of phones can access these smartphones, computer, what exactly?
Well, it is phones, whether they are smart or they are not smart.
Any phone.
But any phone. And particularly for non-smartphones, which we call feature phones, this is very important. Why? Because most of our friends, especially in the informal sector, are not familiar with these digital technologies. But they have paid a water bill, they have paid a power bill, they have used mobile money, certainly they can pay tax using USSD because the learning curve is not there for them to be able to do this service.
That's so interesting. Now, let us look into the other aspects of innovations, apart from the digital strategy and others. What other innovations have you come about that you feel we can share?
In my past life or in the URA?
It could be both.
Okay, but I just told you about just 2 of the 9 activities.
2 of the 9? Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So
let's go back the other side.
The third one is really to detect taxpayers and traders who do not comply and make compliance hard, non-compliance very hard and costly. You might have realized that most of the time URA is driving enforcement using human foot soldiers.
Yeah, sure.
We are everywhere and we're trying to make sure that, and we're going to change that.
Actually, recently in Maraba,
yes,
there was this guy that was coming in with a motorcycle, and the car was besides them. They had to be chased physically. So are you trying to say that URA is coming out with things that are going to eliminate such?
Yes, we're working, for example, with Uganda Police Force. They have cameras across the city. If we are looking for a particular vehicle, by just integrating with the police systems, we'll know where you are, at what time, and be able to intercept you in that regard. And so these integrations between government MDAs that will give us these kinds of capabilities have been scoped and they're ongoing. So compliance will become, non-compliance will become very, very difficult because we'll look at all these frauds and the enforcement that we need and use data and technology to make sure that we find you. And we're already doing that in many respects, and I think you've seen that helping us to grow our tax revenues. So the fourth one is really about developing a high performance and agile and engaged and involved workforce. In the URA, we specialize, we treat our specialists, especially in technology, uniquely. There is a retention program for them, and we are very intent on making sure that we retain talent. HR has this as a priority. They're working hard on it. We're even going through a restructure in terms of our departmental alignments to make sure that our staff are retained as long as they're producing value for the government. And there are so many other things that we're doing here, even from a technology perspective. For example, right now we're doing these performance contracts, and we want to automate that so that it doesn't take as much time as it is. Number 6 is really, rather number 5 is really about increasing and expanding the use of data within the organization to ensure integrity and derive insights and improve outcomes. So you realize URA is a numerical organization. Almost everything we do is just simply mathematical. This is how much you sold, this is the tax component, this is how much you owe, and you paid, and this is your balance. It's as simple as that. We're not like a manufacturer who has to produce a Coke and another brand and another brand. No, tax heads are defined by law, and from then on, they just simply become a mathematical experience. So we want to use data and machines to do most of this mathematics, and so that we present accurate information, and it enables us to know where the gaps are. And number 6 is to modernize our systems so that we digitalize and streamline our services and simplify customer journeys. And what this simply means is that we can no longer run on old technologies. And building this data center is a testament of that effort, which we launched recently. But you notice we've also been simplifying our ledgers and reworking almost everything from the warehouses to how we manage risk. Again, amplifying our infrastructure to make it easy for the customer. And there's a lot of work, again, that we're doing in that respect. Number 7 is about resource stewardship. In the government, we're always blamed for misusing money. But I want to tell you, we are very, very intent in the URA.
Are you speaking about corruption, something like that?
Not even just corruption, even just being sensitive with how much we spend on what. That something is supposed to cost 100,000 and we spend 200,000. It might not be corruption, it might just not be that you do not go out there to be frugal enough.
Wait a moment. So how is that going to be? Because if, someone goes to the restaurant and says, I used this, and brings a receipt, and it is what it is. So how are you?
Well, we're speaking about this more from a technology perspective, that the choices of technology we find should be cost-friendly, but they should also be efficient. And we've been doing quite a bit of that because we do not have an envelope that is limitless. And the more we save, the more we can create more value by deploying the same amount of money in a wider scale of solutions.
I now get
so that is also a focus area, and there's a number of things we've lined up to be able to do that. And then we also intend to work with stakeholders, and these are taxpayers, these are vendors, these are development partners, more intently so that we improve the ecosystem. So we've been, for example, integrating to all the MDAs, all the banks, all the telcos. What this does is to expand your tax ecosystem, and managing those relationships proactively is on our focus. Lastly is to build public trust and confidence. We are custodians of a lot of data. Cybersecurity is on top of our agenda, and there's many things we've lined up in that respect so that everybody feels safe with us, including our international partners.
Remember, we are speaking to Robert Mutebi. He is the Commissioner, Information Technology and Innovations here at the Uganda Revenue Authority. And now we shall cross over to the other thing that I had. Aria asked you about other innovations that you have done probably outside the URA that you would wish the world to capture and have to know.
I normally keep my life simple, but I'll tell you a few about them. Back in the day, we used to have Blackberries.
Blackberry.
Yes.
Okay.
The first deployments were done by a team that I was part of in the country. We did not have mobile phones. Or we had mobile phones when they came, but we didn't have mobile data. I can tell you that the first data calls were done by myself as an engineer in this country. When I worked for MTN, we worked on the mobile money solution, which was really, really transformative in the way financial inclusion is done in this country to date. There is more money that goes through the mobile money system than any bank, or collectively all banks. And that is important. Why is it important? Because it increases the speed of exchange of money. And that has a tremendous impact on the economy. I have been fortunate, I would say, that in every respect I've been part of the digital transformation of the country. And back in the day, I used to sit on the committee for digital transformation in the Ministry of ICT. But even now, I maintain and keep friends with whom we exchange notes in every space. I worked in the banking sector. When I was in the bank, we rolled out the first ATM that takes cash and recycles it and gives it back to you. So I think you've noticed that now the number of bullion vans that move around the city are fewer because when money is deposited, it had to be picked up. And then somebody brings in money to deposit in other cassettes so that it's issued. But now what happens is that the money you deposit gets recycled and is issued to whoever is withdrawing, meaning that the money doesn't have to move a lot on the roads. And that recycler, we call them recyclers, was one of the solutions we worked on. Agency banking was created in a boardroom I was seated in as one of the technical leads. And I think right now, from wherever you are, you can access a bank, even in your neighborhood. So I've been part of this story of digital transformation for the country. these 2 years is what brings me within the government space to also add some value there.
Been adding value to individuals
And private sector and individuals, yes. Now I want to serve the country.
I'm really inspired about this. You want to serve the country. The digital strategy for URA is now here. So what next?
Well, what you can expect from the URA out of this is not so much technology talk, but service transformation. And what we promised is that we're going to make our services instant where we can, or near instant. As a URA, we don't want bureaucracies, we don't want delays. We'll use technology to make sure these services are instant and that they are available 24/7. It's why we're putting a lot of investment into our infrastructure. Number two, we've said that it's going to be inclusive. Before, like I was saying, someone who is a vendor in the market could not file taxes. Today, you can just do that with USSD. We want that person included. We're not just chasing the big telcos, the big banks, the big organizations. It's also the chapati vendor somewhere, the person who has a small scale industry. Everyone should be taken care of with ease and simplicity. So it's going to be very inclusive. But from a tech start, it's also going to be very interoperable, that we can integrate with everyone and anyone, be it a bank, be it a telco, be it an insurance company, anyone. And we've done some of those integrations already. For example, right now, when you pay for your third party, you do not have to go anywhere. Your money will just come through to the URA, and whatever belongs to IRA will go to IRA, because we've done that integration together. So we were chasing interoperability so that the tax ecosystem can organically grow within the infrastructure that is being deployed in other industries.
Where do you see this journey in the next about 5 to 10 years?
It's going to be very exciting. I don't think the URA will remain the same organization. In the level of professionalism, we'll be able to demonstrate in service delivery the transparency that will come with it in terms of visibility of the financial flows and the engagements within the URA, and the efficiency that will definitely give us the tax to GDP ratios that are being asked of us. I am so certain that we'll deliver on it.
And now let us also be specific to this and come to this. You're growing into the system.
Yes.
You've achieved, you're still achieving. How about the people out there, the young person, campus, secondary, that wants to join the tech world?
Yeah.
I say for them.
Well, I think, like I said earlier, you need to find your purpose and pursue it. So many of our young people think that because I have a degree, I should have be employed even when I'm not causing any change. In other words, they come flagging a paper. But what the market is really looking for are solutions. I happen to be quite a very educated person, and the way I got this educated was to find knowledge to solve problems. So the driver is not so much about education, so much about the problems that you're able to, ability to solve problems. And if you study to gain skills to solve problems, it's a good way to do it, because then you become effective. You know what you're doing. And so I would encourage all the young people and everyone in industry to find problems to solve. Because as much as the problems I've solved in this country, I've also gotten rewarded for it, and without pushing or politicking. It's normally you solve problems, people see that value, and they'll give you the next opportunity and the next one and the next one, and it allows you to grow without so much effort, because the effort is spent in solving problems.
And basically, my take home today I could say for every single problem solved, there is a reward. It's
Yes.
not about the paper, but it's about what you can really do. Do you feel there's something we have not spoke about either in the tax world, technology, that we could tackle?
Yes, perhaps one. I have never felt like I'm in charge of anything, but I've always felt I'm a steward for everything. Where really that comes from is I keep saying I'm a child of God. He puts you and I here for a purpose. And I think to remain centered in knowing that you're not the master of all things. You're really not in charge of anything. But God has given you stewardship, and to run with it and to honor it and to respect it and to keep in the fear of the Lord is very, very important. Sometimes when I hear about integrity, personal values, and all these things that many of us and many young people struggle with, it really comes from how are you anchored and what is the source of your values. So if you ask me for anything, I will encourage everyone to walk in the fear of the Lord. It has so many benefits.
The point is, walk in the fear of the Lord. My name is Niyonshima. It was a pleasure having you, Robert Mutebi, the Commissioner, Information, Technology and Innovations.
Thank you.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.